What's up, guys? Thank you for joining me. Today I want to talk about William McNeil and the car stop video that went viral. We're also going to talk about the race hustlers that are trying to get in on the action, and then I'm going to show you the parts of the video that Mr. McNeil doesn't want you to see. First, we're going to start with his video. This is from CBS Mornings.
Can you call your supervisor?
All right, go for it.
Exit the vehicle now. Exit the vehicle.
Now that punch was really a slap, and that seems to be the biggest issue. I'm going to tell you how I feel about that later, but first let's watch the rest of the video.
Show me your hands.
Here.
The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office is under pressure after this routine traffic stop in February turned violent. The driver, William McNeil Jr., filmed the incident on his phone, which shows him getting punched and pulled from his car. He says he suffered a concussion, a chipped tooth, and needed 9 stitches after the altercation. Rodney Harrison is the former commissioner for the Suffolk County Police Department in New York.
It was a very, very difficult and dangerous situation because the person was not complying. The concern that I do have is the punch to the face once the individual had his hands up and didn't seem to be any type of threat to the officer.
You say he doesn't seem to be any type of a threat to the officers, but he's still refusing to get out of the vehicle. By the way, he had a knife right under his seat, which we'll talk about in a second. But the main issue seems to be what appears to be a punch, but let's look at it in slow motion. This is not an actual punch. It's more like a slap or a push to the face. I'm going to do it frame by frame. So right now, the cop's standing outside the window, and here's the first contact. See the hand? It is an open hand over the guy's face, and then you can see he kind of pushes his face out of the way. I know it seems like I'm splitting hairs, but that technically isn't a punch. I will show you the punch when he steps out of the vehicle, but technically, looking at this, that is not a punch. It is a slap or a push to the face. I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but we need to get our facts right if we're going to critique this incident honestly. Now, here's the actual punch. This is just before they pull him out of the vehicle. When he gets out of the vehicle, you're going to see this cop right here punch him in the chin. But you see what he's doing first is he's got both of his hands behind Mr. McNeil's neck, and he's trying to put him onto the ground. He also has at least one of the cop helping him. He doesn't go down, so watch what the cop does. You see that? That's a punch. When you compare that with what happened when he was seated in the vehicle, that was a slap. But this, no doubt, is a punch. So the question is this justified? He's already out of the vehicle, and they're trying to get him on the ground, and of course, he is still fighting them. But this is the punch that we need to talk about. The first one was a slap. I'll admit it looks bad, mainly because the other cops are holding him up while this cop punches him. But remember, that cop initially tried to get him on the ground, and he refused to go down. He's still refusing to comply. Even after they broke the window and dragged him out, he's still refusing to comply. So what do you do if you're a cop in that situation? You can't mace him because all the cops are going to get it. So what do you do? Just keep asking him nicely to get on the ground? Let's go back to CBS.
The officer involved is on administrative leave pending an internal investigation, but the state's attorney said no criminal charges would be filed.
Of course no charges were filed because the cop didn't break the law, but they are doing an internal review. The difference is the DA is no longer involved, so the cop's not going to go to jail, he's not going to be prosecuted, but they are going to examine him to see if he violated department policy. On our job, we would call it a department trial. So the cop isn't going to get prosecuted, but he could still get suspended or even lose his job. I don't think that's going to happen because he seems to have a great sheriff. Here he is at the press conference.
The cell phone camera footage that began viral circulation over the weekend does not comprehensively capture the circumstances surrounding this incident, and that is to be expected. Part of that stems from the distance and perspective of the recording cell phone camera. Another part of it stems from the fact that the cell phone camera did not capture the events that preceded Officer Bowers' decision to arrest McNeil. Moreover, cameras can only capture what can be seen and heard. So much context and depth are absent from recorded footage because the camera simply cannot capture what is known to the people depicted in it.
There's another reason why his cell phone video doesn't tell the whole story, and that is McNeil either didn't start recording until just before he was pulled out of the vehicle, or he was recording the whole time, but intentionally left out parts that didn't fit his narrative. Remember, this incident happened in February, but McNeil didn't upload it to social media until just a few days ago. So he had 5 months to take out parts that he didn't want you to see.
Before I deliver the currently available information and play the relevant body-worn camera, I want to be clear about something. Yes, there absolutely was force used by the arresting officers, and yes, that force is ugly. But as I've said many times before, the reality is that all force, all violence is ugly. And just because force is ugly does not mean it's unlawful or contrary to policy.
You hear that? Just because force was used and it looked bad doesn't necessarily mean that this cop violated department policy. That's why I don't think this cop is going to get disciplined. Now, do you know that McNeil was driving with a suspended license and actually pled guilty?
After this traffic stop on February 19, 2025, McNeil was arrested for resisting a police officer without violence, driving on a suspended driver's license, and possession of less than 20 grams of marijuana. On February 20th, 2025, McNeil pled guilty to and was adjudicated guilty of resisting a police officer without violence and driving on a suspended driver's license. Those pleas of guilty were accepted by a local judge who found them to have been factual basis and to have been voluntarily made by McNeil.
He was sentenced to 2 days in jail. But remember, this incident happened on February 19th, and he was released the following day. So it was basically time served. Here is McNeil talking about how scared he was. This is at his press conference.
That day, I just really wanted to know, why I was getting pulled over and why I needed to step out the car when I knew I didn't do nothing wrong. I was really just scared.
He did nothing wrong and he was scared. Here he is saying it again on ABC.
McNeil speaking with our Lindsay Davis just moments ago in an interview airing on Prime.
What went through your mind at that moment when the deputy broke your window and punches you in the face as you sit in the car?
I was surprised. I was scared. I grew up being told that officers protect us, but that wasn't the case.
He looks high to me. He looks like he's about to fall asleep during that interview. By the way, he also pled guilty to possession of marijuana. But let's address his claim that he was scared. I can guarantee you that he wasn't scared during this car stop. And I'm basing that on his actions when they pulled him over. We're going to go over that. But first, let's talk about the race hustlers. Here is the new Al Sharpton, Benjamin Crump.
I want you to try to put yourself in our shoes. Try to put yourself in William's shoes just for a second. The police stop you and tell you, you say, why are you stopping me? And they say, well, you don't have your headlights on and it's raining. And you look and you're like, there's no rain.
He wasn't just stopped because of the headlights. He was also stopped for not wearing a seatbelt, which you'll see in the video. You should know this, Benny. Before you get to a podium and start screaming racism, you should know the facts. Now listen to Benjamin Crump compare McNeil to Rosa Parks.
Why are you stopping me? And all he does, while I says a Rosa Parks 21st century moment, he as a black person says, I'm tired of it. I'm going to try to demand my constitutional rights. That's the only thing that William McNeil did. And that's the only thing you would want your children to do. To say, as a citizen, don't I have the right to know why you're violating my Fourth Amendment rights against search and seizure unlawfully?
Two things, Benny. Rosa Parks? Really? I don't think so. The second stupid thing you said was that Mr. McNeil's Fourth Amendment rights were violated. How? The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable search and seizures by the police. Where was the violation? It wasn't the stop because Mr. McNeil admitted to not wearing his seatbelt. Remember, he pled guilty to that charge in court. It wasn't the search incidental to lawful arrest, which requires us to inventory the items that led to the discovery of the knife. And by the way, this isn't a normal knife. Did you see the size of this thing? Why would someone need to be driving around with a knife like this? The stop was lawful, and so was the search. These race hustlers who disguise themselves as attorneys get up there and launch these ridiculous claims that have no basis in reality. Mr. McNeil's Fourth Amendment rights were not violated, period. Now listen to Benjamin Crump try to appeal to your emotions. Listen to how ridiculous this is.
So search your hearts, America. If this was your child, wouldn't you be proud that William kept his calmness and his demeanor and de-escalated it? And let that govern you when you call on the sheriff to hold these police officers accountable.
I can guarantee you, Benny, my child, as well as the kids of the people watching this video, would never behave like that. And if they did, the police would be the least of their worries, right? The second thing you say is that McNeil de-escalated the situation, which is a joke. I'm going to show you how he did the exact opposite of de-escalating. And the last thing you say, of course, is no surprise, that Mr. McNeil was pulled over simply because he was black.
It is a classic case of driving while black and police excessive force on a young man who never, ever did anything to warrant such force.
A classic case of driving while black, and McNeil did nothing wrong. Now let's finally get to the car stop, and I'm going to disprove all of these baseless allegations. We're going to start with the most recent one, that McNeil was pulled over simply because he was black.
Yeah, Florida 24 Bravo Echo Charlie Whiskey on a silver Kia, unknown occupants.
Did you hear that? Unknown occupants. The cop doesn't know who is driving, how many people there are in the car, he doesn't know their race, and he doesn't know if they're male or female. So the claim that Mr. McNeil got pulled over simply because he was black is proven to be false.
Yes, sir.
Don't do that. When the cops pull you over, please don't open a door like that. They want you to stay in your vehicle. If I see a guy open up the door like this, I'm scared right away. And I probably got my gun out.
Is there a reason why you're popping the door open like that?
I don't have a window that works. Is there a reason that you're pulling me over?
Yeah, absolutely there's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on. Two things, you're not wearing your seatbelt.
It's daylight. I don't need the lights. And it's not weather. It's not raining.
Oh, this is inclement.
It's not raining.
Now let's address this, because some people have pulled up this law to examine it closely. Here it is. Florida Statute 316.217, when headlights are required. Item B, during any rain, smoke, or fog. Now, those who are anti-cop are pointing to the law and they're focusing on the word during, meaning it actually has to be raining at the time of this car stop. But there's two things we need to think about. First of all, it's Florida, and from what I hear, it could thunderstorm 1 second and then be bright and sunny the next. We also don't know where the cop originally observed this infraction. He could have followed him for a while before he pulled over. Second thing to realize is that you could see the rain droplets on the vehicle. You'll see this through the cop's body camera as he gets closer. Those who agree with the stop are focusing on the word any. The law states any rain, smoke, or fog. It doesn't say how hard the rain needs to be or for a specific length of time. It simply says any rain, which would include misting. And again, when you look through the cop's body camera, you'll see the rain droplets on the window. In my opinion, none of this matters because the cop still has him for the seatbelt violation. And again, Mr. McNeil pled guilty to these charges in court. And speaking of seatbelts, let's look at Mr. McNeil when he opens the door. Look at his left shoulder. Notice McNeil does not have his seatbelt on. You would see the strap if he did. But when you watch his video, what do you see? He's wearing a seatbelt, meaning he put it on just before he started recording. That is deceptive. He is trying to mislead you into believing that he had a seatbelt on all along. Mr. McNeil, at this point, is already building a case against the police. Now, Benjamin Crump said that Mr. McNeil did nothing wrong, and we would all be proud of our children if they acted this way. Watch the rest of this clip and tell me if you agree.
It's not raining.
Okay, I'm not arguing with you. I'm telling you why I'm pulling you over. Give me your driver's license, registration, proof of insurance.
He tells the cop no, he's not doing it. Is this de-escalating, Benny? McNeil is doing the exact opposite of de-escalating. Wait, it gets worse.
No, call your supervisor. Why?
Excuse me?
Call your supervisor.
This is something we're seeing a lot of, and I don't get it. Why are people who are being pulled over demanding to see a supervisor? Do you know how many car stops cops make? The idea that a supervisor can respond to each one is ridiculous. When I was on the job, the only time you called for a boss was if you had an arrest, a DOA, or a crime scene. That's it. And here's another question. He asked for a supervisor, not a sergeant. But if that cop who pulled him over happened to be a sergeant, would he have to go get his lieutenant? I pulled over hundreds of people as a lieutenant. Does that mean I then have to call my captain to come to the scene? It's ridiculous. All it does is waste time. And there's no point. What is the point of having a supervisor respond? So you could have two people tell you that you're wrong? It's ridiculous. Now, let's watch the rest of this clip. This is where it gets interesting. You tell me if this is de-escalating.
Why did you pull me over?
77-35. I'm properly driver. I've already told you.
Why did you pull me over?
Step out of the vehicle.
No.
Step out of the vehicle.
Is this de-escalating, Benny? Is this what you meant when you said McNeil did everything right and de-escalated the situation? Because right now, we have a prisoner who has barricaded himself inside his vehicle. What could have been a warning has turned into this. And it turned into this simply because of McNeil's actions. This wasn't the police escalating it, it was McNeil. And this is what I mean when I say he was lying that he was afraid. If you were truly afraid of the police, you would be walking on eggshells. You would be doing everything you could to comply if you were afraid you were going to get shot. You know who's afraid? The cop. He has no idea what McNeil is doing inside that vehicle.
Prior to him shutting the door and locking it, he was talking to the officer. You see the footage right there with his left hand. His right hand wasn't revealed. You don't know what the officer could have thought of. You don't know what that officer could have assumed.
25-7 for 9-4. The driver just slammed the door and locked it. Yep.
You hear him screaming, "Call your supervisor"? McNeil is trying to dictate the situation. That's not how someone behaves when they're afraid of police. You also hear him screaming, "What's your reason for pulling me over?" even though the cop has already told him. Now listen to the next clip. Listen to what the cop says about his camera.
Keep your hands where I can see them, sir. My camera's on too.
The cop says, "My camera's on too." So he knows that McNeil is recording him with his cell phone. This is important. We're going to go into it later when we talk about whether that slap was justified.
I've already told you. Okay.
He's still asking why he was pulled over. Again, I think he was high. Now listen to how many times the cop warns McNeil that if he doesn't exit the vehicle, they're going to break the window. But McNeil doesn't want to exit the vehicle because he's filming on the inside and he wants the cop to break the window. But let's count.
Sir, this is your last warning to open the vehicle and exit before we're going to break the window. Open the door and exit or we are going to break the window. Open the door and exit or we are going to break the window. No, he's under arrest. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting. Open the door and exit. You are under arrest for resisting.
That's a total of 7 separate warnings. Right now, up until this point, force hasn't been used yet. They're still giving McNeil an opportunity to exit the vehicle, but he wants the cops to break his window. But does this look like someone who's de-escalating the situation, Benny? Does this look like someone who's complying? Does this look like someone who's afraid of police? He's ignoring all of their commands and he's doing whatever he wants. Now, right at this point, McNeil is talking to Officer Bauer's partner, Officer Miller, on the passenger side of the car. Let's listen to that conversation.
Sir, can you please ask him what did I do wrong?
Well, we're conducting a traffic stop right now. You need to comply.
I am complying.
McNeil is still asking why he was pulled over, even though he knows the answer. Notice the raindrops from this officer's body cam too.
Can you unlock the door and step out?
Can you talk to me though?
I will. Can you step out?
Because you don't even know the whole situation.
You're being done. There's a traffic stop being conducted. You're required to comply.
And I'm required to actually.
So,
Can I talk?
yes.
What I did wrong, right?
Correct.
He gave no lawful reason.
Huh?
He gave no lawful reason why he pulled me over.
Okay. So what did he ask for when he I guess talked to you?
When he pulled me over, he walked up, opened my door because my window don't work, right?
Okay.
And then I said, so what I did wrong?
Yeah.
He said, well, for one, your headlights are off under this weather. I'm like,
Okay.
there's multiple people headlights off.
Okay, that's still a legitimate reason to pull somebody over.
There's no rain.
It doesn't matter. You're still required to have headlights on.
Can you pull that law up?
Huh?
Can you pull that law up?
Yeah, when you step out of the car, I will.
Officer Miller not only repeatedly asked McNeil to exit the vehicle, but he said he was willing to show him the law if he got out of the vehicle. But McNeil doesn't want to get out of the vehicle. Even after they broke the window, he still remained seated. Now you'll hear Bowers tell Miller that he's about to break the window. That's when you hear Miller say, "Go for it."
Can you call your supervisor?
Huh?
Can you call your supervisor?
All right, go for it.
Exit the vehicle now.
So multiple cops gave McNeil multiple warnings that he was under arrest and that they were going to break the window. And even after they broke the window, McNeil remained seated and refused to exit the vehicle. That is not complying. That is not someone who was doing everything they were supposed to do, Benny. That's not someone who's afraid of the police. And most importantly, that behavior is not something a parent would be proud of. Now let's analyze the slap and the punch. In my opinion, they were bad for a few reasons, but probably not for the reasons you would think. This is why I and the cops that I work with would never do something like that unless it was a last resort. I took the test in 1989 and came on in 1992. Back then, our biggest fear was AIDS. AIDS was killing people by the thousands, and we were told that we can get it by coming in contact with blood. So we were always worried about blood splatter. We never wanted to get anybody's blood on us. When we were cops, you would never see us standing there boxing someone. I see some cops do that today. I think it looks ridiculous. What you would see was a lot of tackling, like in the NFL, where we take the guy, we throw him onto the ground, and we get him cuffed. But a strike like this, you'd never see us do that. And in this particular case, it was completely ineffective. It accomplished nothing. And it looked bad. And as cops, we need to realize that everything we do is going to be judged frame by frame, not only by people who hate us, but people who have the ability to get us fired and in some cases prosecuted. Let me tell you a quick story. I was with my SNU team. I got the buyer with one of the cops I was working with, and the rest of the whole team was struggling with the seller. The buyer's cuffed. I look over at the rest of my team and I see they can't get the seller cuffed. There's probably 4 cops on this guy. I look over and I see one of the cops I work with his knee on the guy's neck. And I run over and I scream, "Jimmy, you crazy? Get off his neck." Just like that. It's not that it wasn't justified. Force was absolutely justified. But I was thinking about how it would look. We finally get him cuffed. He takes the seller into the station house. Somebody else takes the buyer. I'm still at the scene. He calls me. He says, "Paulie, I need to talk to you." I said, "All right, I'll be in a minute. I'm still at the scene." About 5 minutes later, he calls me again. He goes, "I need to speak to you." I said, "Can you tell me on the phone?" He's like, "No, it's got to be in person." I said, "Shit. I thought it was about the perp." I go to the station house. As soon as he sees me, he says, "Paul, I don't like that you said Jimmy get off his neck in front of everyone." I said, "Are you losing your fucking mind? Are you crazy? I just saved you your pension. I just saved you from going viral and making the news. You should be thanking me." And he did. Hours later, he realized that he was wrong and he thanked me. But as cops, we need to have that voice in the back of our head that says, maybe I shouldn't do this. Can the corrupt media take this one thing out of context, manipulate it, and play it over and over and over again to form a narrative that isn't true? But you need that voice in the back of your head. I was watching this YouTube channel called The Essential Craftsman. Great guy, has a great YouTube channel about construction. One of his videos was about ladder safety. He claims that 40% of all construction accidents happen when somebody falls off of a ladder. And he said that 90% of the people who fall off that ladder heard a little warning inside their head that they ignored. Maybe they were leaning over too far. Maybe they thought, I should just get off the ladder and move it closer. Or maybe I shouldn't ignore that warning and go past that step, the one with the big label on it. They ignore the warning and they end up getting hurt. As cops, we also have that little warning in the back of our head. But because of the adrenaline and because we're so caught up in the moment, some people call it tunnel vision, sometimes we suppress it. Let's not do that. This slap and punch were a bad move. It accomplished nothing other than giving the anti-police corrupt media another reason to hate us. Let's not do that. Let's not give the other side ammunition to use against us. You see, Trump does this all the time. And I love Trump. If you watch my channel, you know I'm pro-Trump, pro-cop, and pro-military. But it doesn't mean that I cannot critique him when he does something wrong. When he says things like, I'm only going to be a dictator on day one, or I may run for a third term, it gives the left ammunition. Yeah, we can explain it away, but why bother? Don't give them anything. You know that they hate you, and they're going to take anything you say or do and use it against you, so why give them the opportunity? It is the same way with police. We know that they hate us, and everybody is looking for the next George Floyd incident. Don't give it to them. Don't get emotional. Don't let them hook you, like we would say on our job. You know at the very least that you're being recorded from your camera, your partner has one, and there's one on the car. You know that this is all being videotaped. Act like it. Now, as dumb as McNeil was, he was smart enough to trap this cop. He ignored the cop's commands, locked himself in the vehicle, knowing it would piss the cop off, knowing the cop would eventually break the window. All the while, he's sitting there waiting, even hoping that Bowers does something that he shouldn't, knowing that it's going to be on tape. And you did it, Bowers. You took the bait. You fell right into McNeil's hands. McNeil played you like a fiddle, and you should have known better. Because not only did you know your camera was on, you knew that he was recording you too. Remember you said, my camera's on too?
Keep your hands where I can see them, sir. My camera's on too.
So you knew McNeil was recording you. You could even see the cell phone when you pulled him out of the vehicle. That's the cell phone right there, recording you. Yet you still took the bait because you got hooked. And now McNeil is looking at a big payday because you know the city is going to settle. Benjamin Crump has never seen the inside of a courtroom. He only holds press conferences. Those other cases like George Floyd, Rashad Brooks, Eric Gardner, Freddie Gray, they don't go to trial. The city settles. And they're going to settle with McNeil too, and he's going to get a lot of money, even though it was McNeil who escalated the situation. I know it sucks to be pulled over and be issued a summons. I know it sucks to have to go to court to fight that summons, but that is where you argue your case. At court, that is the proper forum, not on the side of the road with police. You don't have a right to demand to see the law. You don't have a right to demand a supervisor responds, and you don't have the right to lock yourself in the car and expect that this is going to end well for you. Especially when you're riding around with a suspended license and you got a bag of weed in the car, plus a 12-inch knife. Yet you did all of those things and McNeil is still going to make money. It's beyond disgusting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree with me? The force was necessary, but I wish he didn't do it? Or do you think it was completely justified? Please let me know. I'd read and answer all the comments. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. It will motivate me to make more. Please give me a thumbs up and share it because it helps the algorithm. Thank you again, and I hope to see you on the next video.
I'm pissed off at McNeil.
Step out of the vehicle.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Thank God you didn't get shot.